Good afternoon. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble in the afternoon. I am the host today, just for a short period, because Martin is away sorting things out. But I am joined ably by Ian. Ian, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Good to see you. I was just got a very rare day off today, and last minute just said I'll come on and catch up with you guys. We'll have a wee 3-ball today and cry about how bad it was at the weekend. You know?
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? It wasn't great. Yeah, I'm fine. Apart from the, I think it's Storm Florence that's coming through just now, so we're getting absolutely nothing.
Storm Florence? Is that what it's called?
Florence.
Florence. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
just a quick one. I caught your interview with Thomas Delaney from the Spurs show. Really good. Really good.
Absolutely, yeah. As I say, folks, I did that yesterday evening with Theo Delaney from the Spurs Show podcast, so catch that up on the YouTube channel. As I say, it was a little chat about Mikey Moore and what he thinks is going to happen with him and what his hopes are. Excuse me, for coming back from loan. They're wanting, obviously, him to do very well, and then after the loan here, go back to Spurs. So it was a really good chat. Theo has been watching Spurs, as he said, since the early 70s, so he's a great guy to have on. And we'll get him back on in January and see how things have progressed with Mikey Moore. But we'll start today, Ian, with obviously the hot topic just now that Russell Martin, his post-match interview was very scathing of the players, wasn't it? I mean, that is probably the first time in a long time a manager of Rangers has done something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, he didn't miss anyone and hit the wall, Brian, did he? Do you know what I mean? He was very much scathing in his assessment of third part, which he rightly should be. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some questions to be asked of Russell's tactics as well. The whole, playing Aarons at left back when he's actually a right back. And then the intensity of the press, the first 20, 30 minutes after a very high intense game over in Greece. The guys, the whole team looked knackered. Because the first 20, 30 minutes, I thought, went quite well. We got ahead. We looked really strong. And then we just fell apart. And the whole midfield went and disappeared. Rodwell looked knackered. Raskin wasn't really in it. Dowell wasn't great either. Do you know what I mean? I'm not singling him out because he wasn't the worst performance at all. But it was interesting to hear about... I think the only two people he picked out for pass marks, Brian, was John Suter and Nasser Djiga. Yeah, I think he thought that they ran really well. He then went on to praise, Cyril Dessers, rightly or wrongly. Just went on and said, look, there's only been one bid in the summer come in for any of these players, and it's been Cyril. And he came on, he ran about, he did really well, is what Russell Martin said. Albeit, clearly, Cyril's not quite fit yet, is my gut feel, because I just felt, as much as Danilo had a good first 20 minutes, I just felt it just, again, the same Danilo we've always known, just doesn't bother the opposition centre halves enough. He's just not enough of a pest of a number 9, don't you think?
I don't think he's a guy that plays well on his own. I think last season there was a period where Egeman and Danilo were playing off each other. One was dropping, one was number 9, vice versa. And they built up a really good relationship at one point. And I don't think Danilo's got the physical presence to be a singular number 9. I think he needs somebody in and about with him to do 1-2s and little layoffs and stuff like that. So I don't think Danilo is a guy that should be a singular number 9. And also the manager praised Lyle Cameron when he came on. Obviously he got booked straight away, which was it was a booking. But I mean, at least Lyle Cameron showed some form of intent and sort of, I'm here and I'm wanting to make my presence known.
Yeah, I was quite impressed when Cameron came on. His intensity was good. He was getting stuck right in, which a lot of them didn't or couldn't. I don't know if this was a tiredness, because I know the guys were ran ragged pre-season. Russell Martin made a point of that. And you know what I mean? But still, no excuse. You know what I mean? There's no excuse. But listen, were Motherwell good? Yeah, they were. Were they a bit better than we expected them to be? Probably. But the point is, you know what I mean? You should even at this stage be good enough to get 3 points at Fir Park. Albeit, I think Motherwell will take a lot of points off the top 6 this year. I get that impression they're set up quite well, if you like. But all in, you know what I mean? It was quite disappointing. But the back of your mind, Brian, you just got to remember it's one game just now. It's one game.
Absolutely. And here's the boss man back. Hello.
Yes.
Hello, gentlemen. How are we?
Very well.
Maybe actually, I'm really glad that Ian was available to come on, because I would let everybody know tonight at 7:30. It will just be myself and Stuart for the first half an hour on the Monday Night Rabble, and then we will be joined by Robin Keane, who is going to take us through what she's been up to.
Oh, brilliant.
Since she was last on, the places that she's visiting, the gigs that she's been doing, and then she's going to do a wee performance for us as well tonight, live on the show. So I'm actually quite glad that we managed to get through on, because we can maybe do a wee bit more of an in-depth look into things, because obviously tonight it will just be myself and Stuart, which I'm no doubt Stuart's got a lot to say tonight as well, as Ian will know doing the Rabble reports with him. I'm sure, and I'm sure Stuart will be very calm down, everybody. Calm down. We could be 45 points behind in the league, and Stuart would say, calm down, everybody. Everybody just... Can I just say, Ian, that is a lovely looking T-shirt you've got on.
Do you know, because I'm off today, I just thought, what am I going to wear on this podcast? Because I don't know what I had on beforehand, but it was something I was in the garden, and I found this Rabble T-shirt. I've no idea how I got it. I don't think you dropped it off, but someone did, you know? So no idea.
You never got it for free. You never got it for free, Ian. Right. Right. Okay. Let's get back into it. I know you two probably just discussed that before I came back on, right? But there has been a lot of chat, Brian, about Russell Martin's post-match comments. We can go into the game in a wee minute, right? It's a strange one for me, mate, right? Because I would imagine at the end of that game there would have been so many people, and when I say people, right, I mean online, because that's really all we can base the reaction on, right? Because the days are gone where you would go to your local pub and have a chat about the game during the week, and everything's done online on socials now, right? So I don't think socials speak for the majority of people, but it's the only thing that we can judge reactions on, right? Especially doing this, right? So I would imagine social media was about to light up at full time with get Martin out, don't want him, he's not good enough, his tactics aren't going to work, the players don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. How much, Brian, do you think his post-match reaction and the things that he came out and said actually helped him in the eyes of the support?
I think a lot. I really do. I think it's finally nice to see a manager actually taking these players to task, finally. I think these players have skated by for far too long. I think a lot of them have just been comfortable. I think a lot of them have just thought, well, I've made it now. I'm at Rangers. Everything's hunky dory. I'm making a good wage. I'm playing most weeks. We'll win the odd we'll win the odd game when we really need to, like the Celtic games, like the European games. But I think it's finally nice to see a manager digging out these players and actually holding them to task for for the first game of the season. The manager was very sort of honest in his approach to how he wanted to play this season, and that wasn't what we've seen in the Motherwell game. Maybe the first half or first part of the game, yes, you could see that. But the manager said constantly that he wants to see, the preseason was very difficult in the players. He wanted to get these guys fitter. And I think it's great. I think it's brilliant that he's called them out finally. I think maybe now people will actually see maybe it hasn't been the managers, even the managers previous, but it's been the problem. Maybe it has been largely down to the players, because, there was a few performances on Saturday where you were just quite surprised by how lackadaisical they were and quite sort of blasé and sort of trotting about. And the manager will pick up on that stuff. And I'm just glad somebody's finally actually done it and said, look, this is not, your performance wasn't good enough and it wasn't what's required. So, no, I think the manager's done the right thing, and I think the fans all appreciate that.
Can I just say, Ian, right, and I was just about to ask this question before multiple man put it in the comments, right, because I think it's extremely valid.
Yeah,
right?
I just read it.
Barry called this out, right, then picked him anyway. Will Martin go through with his threat of changes? I don't actually I can't remember if he said he was going to change anything, right? I don't think he nailed the colours to the mast.
He did say he was going to make some changes for Tuesday, but he needs to work. He needs to watch it back and decide what those changes are. Is what he said.
No, this is the question, Ian. If we see, the majority of the same players on the pitch in Tuesday, and by the way, not even so much Tuesday, because I honestly think every single supporter would say, sack Europe, I just want the league, right? I think most supporters would go with that, right? The board won't, the owners won't. It's all about money nowadays, and Europe's where you get your money. I understand all that, right? But if we look past Tuesday and we look to the weekend, Dundee at home, right? If we don't win that, then we've got some serious issues, right? Because Dundee are absolutely honking, right? But if he goes into that Dundee game, even if he goes into that Dundee game, right, and we win comfortably 3-4-0, but he picks a relatively same team that he picked against Motherwell, I don't think supporters are going to be happy, mate.
No, I mean, Christ, how do you put yourself in Russell Martin's shoes in that instance? What do you actually do? You've not seen much of the players. You don't know. I mean, you've got a rough get. I mean, his comments yesterday were, we can't run for cover. We can't decide when we get to run and then hide behind yourself again, which his comment was yesterday. Would I like to see maybe Lyle Cameron start on Tuesday? Yeah, I think he kind of mentioned, he kind of come on and showed a little bit of grit, a little bit of determination. Is Desser's going to be a wee bit closer to being fitter to start? Maybe. So I think Martin, as I said to Brian earlier, the ones that he singled out for running were John Souttar, Nasser Njiga, and Cyril Dessers. So he believes in those players, rightly or wrongly. Yeah, he believes in those players. So I think they'll be stick-ons for Tuesday. But just going back to your comment there about, I can see Europe far enough. Well, to believe it or not, they're not mutually exclusive. We need to beat Pleasant in an attempt, even if we don't get past Salzburg or Club Brugge, whoever it may be in the playoff, to get to the Champions League proper. We need that £5 million payment that we'll walk into the Europa League with in order to be more ready to go and win domestic trophies, be it the league or whatever cups. Do you know what I mean? So to me, unfortunately, a lot of these fixtures, I think Stuart and I picked up on it in our latest Rabble report, a lot of these fixtures, big fixtures, are coming thick and fast when Russell Martin hasn't settled on his first 11. And to be fair, we knew this would be the case. We knew it would be like that. So we can't all act surprised and pissed off. Well, we can, but should we? That's the question.
Yeah, Ian, I get that. We all knew nothing was going to be perfect. But what I don't think we can accept is exactly what Russell Martin came out and said at the weekend. What we can't accept is 10, 15 minutes of really good play, right? 10, 15 minutes where we looked at that game and we thought, right, okie doke, this is exactly the way we want to play. We want to be pressing them high, not give them a second on the ball. They can't get out. We win the ball back high. We create chances. Players take risks, which is exactly what Martin wants them to do. If a player takes a risk and loses the ball and we lose a goal, Martin would be much happier with that than a player jogging back and is losing a goal, right? So Martin wants his players to take risks. So what frustrates me the most, and I'll go back to the same question, is if Martin picks, in fact, do you know what I'll do? I'll bring up, let's just call a spade a spade. Who do you think his comments were aimed at? Right? Ooh. Let's just call a spade a spade. So, Tav, right? I don't think his comments were necessarily aimed at Kieran Dowell. I think Danilo was on the end of those comments. I think Raskin was on the end of those comments.
Yes.
Diamande was on the end of those comments.
Very much.
I think the comments were aimed at most of the team, Brian. But I do think the likes of, Raskin, we know that he's a very good player. It was an off day for Raskin. Players like Dio, but I think Dio's one of the players, Brian, that's on the edge of, well, we know you're a good player. We know you've got it, but you've not showed it enough. And see, if you don't, you're out.
Yeah, it all goes back to consistency, doesn't it? I mean, everybody knows there's a player in Danilo. Everybody knows there's a good, technically gifted player in there. Problem is, Danilo only shows it every so often, and that's
Diamande.
Sorry, we can't have that. We can't have guys that are just appearing for games here and there, like as I said earlier, Celtic games and European games. We can't have that. Going away to Motherwell, going away to Dundee, St Mirren, cold nights in the middle of December. That's the that's the tough games away from home that these guys need to start, showing their worth and showing them that, we can cope with pretty much anything that comes at us. I don't think Dowell was totally immune from criticism, because there was certainly a clip I seen on the socials where he lost the ball and then just practically jogged into the box and watched everything unfold. So I don't think Dowell was completely immune from criticism. So, but I do take your point that, the Danilo, he was certainly aim at that. Razkin, Diomande. Try to think of anybody else it might be. I don't think there was many.
I would include Rodwell. Rodwell really toiled at Per Park at the weekend.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So is the criticism then at the manager for picking a similar team that played on the Tuesday evening?
That's part of it.
I know we shouldn't be using that as I'm not using it as an excuse, but was there not a chance to rotate the squad and at least keep it fresh? Could Lyle Cameron have came in instead of Rothwell? You know what I mean? Lyle Cameron's fit and ready to go. He didn't play on Tuesday night, very much. So there's certainly, as you said, Martin, there's certainly questions at Russell Martin in the sense that his team selections and his substitutions are certainly got to be questioned. But at the same time, I think he was perfectly correct in throwing the players under the bus. Absolutely.
I love it when people take you out of context and then try and have a right good go at you. The majority of supporters don't say sack Europe. What a stupid comment. If there's no Europe, there's no money. No money equals no better players. I think you'll find Gary actually said that. No better players, no competing against the separate entity. That was the most stupid comment I've heard this year.
I tell you what, that must have taken a week and a half to type out, Martin. That was a big
go back, Gary, with 2 hours and actually listen to what I said. What I said was most supporters would sack Europe if it meant winning the league, because we all want to win the league. And then I followed it up with, but I understand we need Europe because it's money. So that's what I said. Don't take me out of context, mate, and call me stupid. Right?
Good point, Martin. Can I just pick up on something that Brian said there? He was absolutely right. Dowell and Tav were very much culpable at the goal for half-assed challenges on the wing.
Yep.
But this is the bit where Russell Martin, yes, he was right to chastise the players and shout at the players. But I think Russell Martin is at fault for not taking Dowell off before that point. It was done. Yeah, he did a shift in Greece, and then he did a lot of running at Fir Park. And Brian, you touched on it. See the first 20, 30 minutes, I think we can all agree we thought we were pretty good. Yeah, we were doing that high press, high intensity. But after that, our midfield became non-existent. And why was that? Because they were done. They were knackered. They were absolutely knackered. So this is the downside of having this high press, this high intensity game. You're going to have to be super fit.
By the way, can I just say, I'm stupid. What I meant was, don't take me out of context and then call me stupid. But no, I'm stupid. There's no denying that. Anybody who knows me knows that is absolutely the case. Can we bring it back, Ian? Right? Just I want to just have a little tiny glimmer of hope and positivity. Right? That first 10, 15 minutes, Ian. Right? I get you cannot play like that for 90 minutes, right? You cannot do it. So you need to take breaks in between playing like that, right? Where you maybe sit back, or you imagine this, try and keep possession, right? I mean, imagine us try to do that, right? But do we take any heart from the first 10, 15 minutes in the way that we were playing against Motherwell? In the way that obviously Martin wants to set up, Martin wants to move forward with Ant-Man coming in, with Asgard to come back from injury. Did we take any positivity for the start of that game?
I think we do. Because, as he outlined, that's how he wants the team playing. You know what I mean? So there certainly is some positives to take from the intensity of how we start. I think we were all really impressed about how Danilo and the two wide players, Gassman and Dowell, were really pressing. They were really harassing Motherwell's goalkeeper and the defenders to the point where a lot of mistakes were made. But I've got to say, and this is where you need guys that can shoot and score goals and all the rest of it. As much as we pressed them, I can't say we looked like scoring. Danilo had that attempt from outside the box that clipped the top of the bar, But outside of that, what do you really remember him taking aim at? Not much. Yeah.
Nothing.
So that's what you've got to think about. I think at that point, we're just thinking, well, I understand the press. And if you look at the ball possession, I think me and Brian had a conversation about this. I think we had something like 67% ball possession. Big deal. If you're not scoring, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, and that's kind of the bottom line. But yeah, so are we to take anything positive? What I would say, Martin, is yes. But if that's the intensity intends to play out for 90 minutes, maybe this big squad of players is exactly what we need, because you're going to have to rotate players like you wouldn't believe if you're going to play like that. And the natural way of the Scottish game is very kick and rush by nature. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, we've got to come back and say, look, it's one game. The team are still finding their feet. Again, Stuart and I, when we talked in the Rabble reports, and sorry to keep referring to that, of the first 6 domestic fixtures, I actually thought Fir Park would be our banana skin. And as I said that prior to the game, and it turned out to be.
I didn't. I really didn't.
Yeah.
I watched them in pre-season, and I was so wrong. And by the way, I owe Motherwell, and this is going to really hurt me, I owe Motherwell an apology, right? Because Brian, just switching to Motherwell for 2 seconds, and I can't find the comment. Sorry, where is it? They said Motherwell figured us out, right? They really did. And not only did Motherwell figure us out, Brian, some of their play and some of their passing out for the back was risky. But you know what? It worked for them. I thought they looked a really, really, really well-oiled team on Saturday.
Well, I was quite confident going into this game after your scouting report, after watching them against Peterhead. I wasn't really. I know I'm starting to sort of reassess all this, but you were totally downing them and saying they were rubbish. Peterhead, Peterhead couldn't beat them and all this, and I'm like, wow, Motherwell must have really fell off a cliff. So I wasn't really worried at all yesterday, and Saturday about the game, and then obviously the game happened.
I was stupid, like, Brian. I told you I was stupid.
What game was Martin watching? You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, at least I know he's never going to make it as a scout. That's one thing.
No.
So, no. But no, I mean, I'm trying to sort of say this correct. Is it a case of that the Motherwell players reacted to the fact that they're not on 15, 20 grand a week? They're on sort of modest wages. They've just been signed. Motherwell obviously lose a lot of players every summer and then sign a lot of players every summer. So was this they knew they were playing a big game against Rangers? Was it a case of they wanted to show the manager and the fans what they're capable of? Obviously, they're well drilled because, as you say, they played well and managed to play the ball out from the back. So it's. I'm still putting this down to teething problems with us. It shouldn't be, but I still go back to the point that I made a few pods ago, that we didn't play enough competitive pre-season games. We played far too many behind closed doors. We should have had far more games in front of fans so that the players could feel, when fans are frustrated and when they're not. So yeah, it's worrying in the sense that Motherwell were quite easy. They were quite easy to come out of their defence and start attacks. It was we almost let them. So yeah, it's worrying from that aspect. But as I say, I still go back to the fact we didn't play enough pre-season in front of fans. I've said that for a while.
I'm never living this down.
What did you say? I can't remember what you said.
Martin watches Motherwell says are rubbish. Last season, he said after the Motherwell game at Hampden, Copper was amazing.
I know. I was on that pod with you.
I don't know why I say things. Right? I really don't know why I say things.
So today what you need to do, Martin, is predict we'll come second, not win any cups, and we'll have a good season.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Victoria Pilsen are amazing, and will beat us 8-0.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works. Ian, is it worrying but that we've now played 3 competitive games and each of them we've came away from it going, we'd be in trouble if they could finish?
Oh, well, listen, I think that problem's symptomatic of most teams kind of on a level as, the dying art of the number 9 is diminishing. You saw both games against Panathinaikos. If they had anyone that could have, been half decent at finishing, that the tie would have been out of sight. It simply would have been out of sight for us. And we carried a lot of luck over those 2 games. Albeit you make your own luck, and usually over 2 games, luck kind of has less to do with it. But my God, was the Greeks finishing poor. And you've got to laugh, because Motherwell's goal in the end, the way I forget the name of the Motherwell guy that scored. I think, Martin, I've heard you talk about it before. It's like, did you remember his name? Nah. So anyway, it was literally on the prone position. He was lying down and quickly stood up and then put his left foot through the ball. Yeah. So that in itself was, he was just happened to be there. No one was picking him up because he was lying in the ground. Or so I hope. That's why no one was picking him up. But yeah, I think we're getting to that point where, people are saying, I think Brian did a really good pod yesterday about with Theo Delaney from the Spurs show and Mikey Moore. The Ant-Man deal is done, I believe, but not officially announced. Is that right? Yeah. So I think we need to see much more of an offensive outlook, because we need more goal scorers in the team. For all the possession we have, we're not really threatening anyone's goal. We really aren't. So I can't tell you, outside of the Danilo chance, which was a strike to nothing, hit the top of the bar. I'm pretty sure the goalie probably thought it was going over anyway. Yeah, but I think we need some players that the good old fashioned thing. You score more goals, you win the game. Yeah, we just don't have that, and I think you could see Russell Martin lean back into Dessers and say, look, as much as he's not 100% match fit since he came back with his ankle knock from the Nigeria game, I kind of think he's thinking, well, this is maybe my guy. I'm going to start with this guy. And it was interesting to hear, Martin. I wanted to know your thoughts on it. He basically said, look, Cyril said to me, regardless of whether I stay or go, I want to be thought of really well from this club when I leave. And that is my attitude on the pitch. And I think Paul McCorrickle brought up a point a minute ago there, just talking about how everybody's mentality was wrong. That much I agree with Russell Martin. People's mentality was wrong, but I expected it to be a difficult task, because an opening fixture in the SPFL is going to be a culture shock to a lot of the players that played that day. Yeah, a real culture shock, the kick and rush nature of it. You're in a cup final every single week playing against Rangers, every single week. And I'm sure there's a lot of the players at Auchenhowie today that if they didn't understand the fuss about us having a draw away from home in the opening game of the season, they sure as hell know about that now. Yeah, because
but Ian, we finished that game with 9 players who were here last season.
Yeah, we did. In the end, we did, and certainly even Lyle Cameron that come on is a SPFL player as well.
Scottish game.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but in all honesty, the way Russell Martin attacked the players was absolutely right. I think the questions that have to be asked of Russell Martin is Yefty so bad in his estimation that he has to play his right back at left back. Yeah, because you can actually see for the first 20 minutes. They actually threatened down Aaron's side as well. They tried to make headway through the left back position where Aaron's was until we switched it for a short spell. Yeah, and then it quickly switched back. But listen again. Let's not read too much into it. I'm still quite apprehensive about Victoria Pleasant on Tuesday, because they're a decent team. They beat Servette last Wednesday 3-1 away from home. Good side. I don't expect great things here, but maybe the rollicking and the disappointment of the weekend will impress upon the players in a positive way, is my hope.
Well, by all accounts, and I don't like to bring this up, Brian, because I tend to bring things up that backfire on me. Right, most things seem to backfire on me. I've probably been on Paddy Power more than actually Paddy Power himself. Right, but by all accounts, yesterday they weren't sparkling. Right, at home to St Mirren, a late goal again, which is what they do. To be fair to them, that's what they do. Does that give us confidence as a support that look, We might have been really poor in that opening weekend, but they ain't anything special. Or just to give you an out here, first game of the season, we don't know anything yet.
I was just about to say, I think that's more of a fair assessment. It's the first game of the season. There's still rustiness getting put out in both teams. So I think to make an assessment after one game's, no, I think you can't really do that. I think if we're 8-10 games in, I think you'll get a more fairer assessment of where things are and the teams, and obviously the new players that both teams have signed. I think you'll have a fairer assessment after that sort of games. But no, I mean, I think it was just pure rustiness, and there's possibly new signings playing. But no, I tend to look at the results from across the city. I don't really tend to look at the games. So I was generally
they won. End of story. They won. I get that. They get a goal when they need a goal. But I'm just saying, by all accounts, we've seen Celtic teams start the season and win 5-6-0 at home on the opening day of the season. Absolutely destroyed teams in the first half. There's been a lot behind closed doors said about them. Their manager's been greeting to leave. Their fans have been up in arms. I was just thinking, after the absolute capitulation from us against Motherwell the day before, can we take any solace from the fact that they don't appear anyway? It's only one game, but they didn't come out and blow St Mirren away.
I suppose that when you put it like that, you've got to take some sort of comfort that they didn't, as you say, get +5 of a goal difference or +6 or whatever. They only got +1 of a goal difference. So, in that aspect, it's not too bad. But the fact of the matter is, they've got 2 points on us already after one game. That's the whole problem. 100%. That is the whole problem now. We've started another first game of the season very poorly, and it's getting. Yeah, it's, as I say, it's one game. I'm not pushing any panic buttons yet, I think, because we've still got the whole of August to bring players in, move players out. So there's going to be serious activity in the next 3-4 weeks. So yeah, it's one game, but there is a little, how could you put it, a little alarm bell, just, a little dinky one just ringing saying, things aren't right. But until the window's shut and, we get a better idea how we're going to play, once the players settle in, I think we'll get a better idea.
Yeah, absolutely clutching at straws, Ian. But I mean, we've got nothing else to clutch to.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you text me after the result at Parkhead, and subsequently, just how it was. I was on YouTube, and the highlights of their game come on. And as much as it was 1-0, they battered the post about 4 times. It was a very one-sided affair. Yeah. But again, their number 9 couldn't hit the back of the net. Yeah, another symptomatic reason of where have the forwards gone. Yeah, but essentially, I mean, don't get me wrong. You're absolutely right to say Celtic seem to have reverted to that, where they don't seem to be putting their hand into the pocket much to strengthen. They brought in Tierney, who came off after 60 odd minutes, I believe, because I think we'll see that a lot from Kieran Tierney with his historical injuries, maybe. But I honestly believe that had we got a 3 points at Fir Park, that 1-0 result over at Parkhead may have had the fans leaning into Brendan Rodgers, Peter Lawwell a wee bit more.
Yeah, so but had we won, they could have come out then at the traps and maybe won more handsomely than what they did. But that's enough. Maybe that's enough of them. I was bringing it up as a wee aside. To go, look, we didn't perform very well. Apparently, they didn't perform that well. Maybe we can take something for that moving forward. I'm just trying to find positives wherever I possibly can right now, because I'm absolutely sick. I know what you're going to bring up, Brian. Hold on a wee second. I'm absolutely sick of just being constantly negative. I want to touch on the European draw. But just before I do that, if you are a fan of the Rangers women's team, Brian has some breaking news for you.
If you take it off mute.
Sorry, I'm still not used to tablet nonsense. But yes, Rangers have just announced a new manager for the women's team. It is Leanne Crichton. She was obviously the assistant manager at Glasgow City. So we have a new manager finally in place after Joe Potter left in the summer. So that is some good news finally. We've been waiting for this for a good while. No manager, players were leaving. There was a bit of apathy, thinking things weren't right. So yeah, great news in the sense that I know, man, sorry. But no, it's great that we've finally got a new manager and that we are hopefully moving forward now. It's going to be a case of a Scottish manager as well, so that's a bit positive as well. Played for Scotland many times, so good news, and we'll hear all about it at 6:30 tonight on the Women's Show.
Yes, we will. Is anyone a fan of women's football? Quite a lot of people are a fan of women's football, to be fair. And on the Rabble, we cover the men's team, the academy, the women's team. Anything to do with Rangers, we'll cover it. So you've got your own dedicated academy.
We'll cover that.
Yes, you've got your academy shows and your women's shows. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can tune in tonight at 6:30. And you can find out all about Leanne Crichton and what's happening with the Rangers women's team. Right, Ian, if, and it's a big if, we get past Pilsen, right? In essence, we probably should, but if we do, I want to caveat that with a big IF, then it will be either Salzburg or Club Brugge. Not easy. Salzburg have got a lot of money behind them. Yeah. Club Brugge done really well in the Champions League last year. They're improving every year, but it's not against the realms of possibility that we could get through to the Champions League if we screwed it up.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility. You're absolutely right. But judging what we've seen so far, I wouldn't bet it. If you know what I mean, I wouldn't think it was going to happen. And the truth is, as much as the new formation of the Champions League would probably favour us as it did them, as to how it now runs, I think if we're being true to ourselves, we'd rather take that balloon payment or that €5 million that you get for getting past Pilsen and then go into Europa League to see. I would imagine we could have a better run there and a fair bit of gate money coming in on the back of that. So. No, it's not. It's not beyond us, Martin. Definitely not beyond us. It's just annoying, and this is what frustrates me more than anything. I'm sure it does all the fans. Is these really important games come thick and fast, and we know at the start of every season. You know what I mean? If we're not ready to go, it almost shapes the rest of your season, and it's particularly frustrating because you're behind the eight ball, chasing your tail, basically knowing that there isn't the funds coming in that you hoped there would be. And then you look at what you've got. You start turning in on them. They've got 3-4 year contracts that you just can't sell them or shake them. We don't become an attractive club to then sign for. It's just a domino effect, So is it beyond us? It's not beyond us, but I think the likelihood of it is not high.
No, my ribs are killing me. No, listen, we're certainly not the favourites to make it through to the Champions League, Ian, but see if we want to not have these same, and this is back to my point earlier, if we don't want to keep having these same conversations at the start of every season, we need to win the effing league. You win the league, you solve these problems.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. But unfortunately, the qualification for Europe and winning the league aren't mutually exclusive, Martin, because what brings it because it brings the finances that in order for you to win the league and attract players that have seen you have a good run in Europe and think, do you know what? That's not a bad side. You know what I mean? So, for example, Mikey Moore coming here, Spurs will be well aware of how Rangers have done well in the Europa League, and they think, do you know what? That's a good level for that boy to come in and kind of start his first team career, and that was very much Theo Delaney's take on it when he was interviewed by Brian yesterday. So, I think, the league is everything for us this year. It's absolutely everything. But I think if we're being honest to ourselves, this is Russell Martin's been here 5 or 6 weeks, so we need to be careful about the level of expectation that sits on his shoulders, albeit regardless of who we have, in the driving seat and who's in the team, they should be getting 3 points against Motherwell.
Yeah, we should. We absolutely should. And I made that argument on the reaction as well, Ian, that, Motherwell have got a brand new manager. They've got some new players in there. But more importantly than that, they had a lot of players that were there last season who had to learn a completely new way of playing, had to learn a full new system, and they had to trust in the manager. And they managed to do it for the majority of that game, and we didn't.
I know. You're absolutely right. It was a leveler. In fact, Martin, I've just had a deja vu there. You and I had this very conversation about a Stephen Naismith New Hearts team that had signed 10 players at the start of last season. And the opening game, was it one each? I remember, was it?
Yeah, but then they went on to lose like 10 in a row or something.
Yeah. How many times have we seen teams do well against us then capitulate?
Yeah.
But that's just it's typical Scottish football. But if anyone, Russell Martin made a good point in the fact that if anyone was under any doubt of what they're up against when you're playing for Rangers in the SPFL, where everybody wants to beat you, Auchenhowie, was it 0-0? Was it Auchenhowie this morning? They'll now fully understand what awaits them this year. Welcome back, Brian.
I did say that Storm Forest was going to hit, and I feel like I'm in the eye of the storm right now because it feels like doomsday's coming. It's went really dark, and the wind's picked up. It's really bad. So
did you say Storm Forest? Is that what you said?
Flores.
But yeah, let me just ask you, Brian. Right, so we've seen some of the new players on the park in their first game. We've seen Rodwell, we've seen Aarons. Who else did we see? Who else was starting? Gassama. Did anybody catch your eye where you're thinking, yep, I'm really, really happy with that? Or in the opposite, did you watch anybody and go, oh no, we've made a mistake here? Again, it's only one game. It's just a hypothetical. I'm only asking.
Yeah. No, I think the only experiment I think that we need to bin is obviously Aaron's being at right left back. I think we've seen enough now that that's not a good option. He could maybe fill in for a few minutes if somebody has to go off with 10 minutes to go, but to actually start him there is not an option. It really isn't. He's not a natural left-footed guy. He's a right back after all. So that experiment for me has to stop. We've either got to put our necks on the line and say, right, Jeffrey's going to be the left back, or we've got to go and get another left back. Simple as that. We cannot go the season with Aarons as being a left back. That is not an option. I'm quite sure Bournemouth wouldn't be too pleased using their player as a left back instead of his natural right back. He actually played pretty well when he got moved to right back in the European game, didn't he? So, it's Rothwell. I think I've seen enough. We've all seen enough of him playing even for Leeds. And there's enough there that I've seen that there's a player in there. I think Gassama speaks for itself. He's every time he's came on and his sub appearances, he's changed games, he's scored goals. So I think there's obviously something in there. The only one I'm not too sure of is the centre half Fernandez. I'm just not too sure about him yet. So but he's not playing.
We haven't seen enough of him, have we?
No, we haven't seen enough of him. So and then we've got the likes of Asgard who hasn't played yet. So there's it's one game, and I think we've all just got to although it's disappointing the result, it's not the one we wanted. We've still got to realise that it's going to take time. It's good, and we've still got to get rid of players. We've still got at least 10 players we could get rid of. Whether we can do that is another thing, but. I believe this next 3 weeks are going to be 3-4 weeks. Are going to be huge as far as getting players out, because that badly needs to happen.
Ian, well, it's all right for me, you, and Brian to sit here and go, it's only been one game, right? It's only been one game. Everybody take a chill pill, because when you do stuff like this, you do try and see it from both sides of the aisle, and you try and be as sane as you possibly can, right, when we do this, right? But there's so much anger in the comments, right? And I do understand why there's so much anger in the comments, right? Do they have a point, right? And let me expand on that a wee bit, right? So there's some people saying, no, Gassama's no use, the manager's no use, He's not going to win anything here. We don't have the players that are good enough. I won't repeat what Aldo, We Are the People's just put in the comments. But there's so many people in the comments, Ian, who I'm not saying they've gave up. What they're saying is that this team's already gave up. Is that fair?
Do you know, I saw you, I think it was test video, is a relation of yours, and he was talking about how he thinks Rodwell's a donkey as well. Yeah, so, yeah, listen, is it fair? No, it's not fair at the moment because, I mean, for example, even Brian and I, we did our homework on Gassama. We had guys on from the Sheffield Wednesday pod, and they were basically saying, we cannot believe this guy's left for £2.2 million or whatever it was, right? Now, Martin, you can kid a lot of people on, but you can't kid the fans on. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So if this guy was genuinely not good, then, you know, there was an outpour of anger from the Sheffield Wednesday fans when Gassama left. So he's obviously a player. He's obviously a player. Now the comments on Russell Martin, well, only time will unfold that one because there was when we took Russell Martin on, there was a lot of from Swansea and Southampton, a lot of their fans, and like I said, you can't kid the fans on. A lot of their fans were, oh yeah, we got this as well. A lot of smart talk, very slick behind the microphone, and then it was the same old predictable football that didn't really work, and we got excuse after excuse, blah blah blah. But then, what are the real expectation of a Southampton in the Premier League? You know, I mean, where did you really expect? Okay, you won't want them to get relegated as such, but no matter what, a Southampton team is always, I would say, fairly favoured to be in a relegation fight, regardless of who's the manager. Yeah. So it certainly wouldn't be a top 10 finish for me, an obvious one. But I understand the fans' annoyance, and listen, I suffer from it too. And it's because this looks like the same old picture. This looks like a movie we've seen before, doesn't it? Yeah. So we get on
day one.
Yeah, we get to day one and we go, oh my God, this is just going to be the same as the whole of last season. But do you know what? And I understand that because we've had the last 3 managers do that to us, essentially. Yeah. And to be honest, I completely get the frustration. But the truth is, this has been another rebuild. So everything that's happened before it, we can't factor that into our thinking on Russell Martin, whether we like it or not. We can't. This is a new game for him, a new job for him. He's been here 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying Russell Martin's going to turn out to be the man. As such, I'll reserve judgment on that until I have a bit of evidence. I liked his post. I've liked everything he's said and done up to this point, but he wouldn't be the first manager that's been fantastic behind the microphone, Martin, that's then gone on to just capitulate on the pitch. You know?
Well, Lee Butler, Brian, is saying, so another season of picking up form after the league is already gone. That is, I think, what a lot of people are frustrated and worried about, is the fact that, are we going to come good at the point of no return? Are we going to come good when Celtic are already 15, 18, 20 points ahead? Or are we going to come good when there's absolutely no chance of us winning the league? Like Ian's saying there, like most of the comments are saying, we have seen this story before. We have seen dropping points in the first day of the season and then winning some home games, dropping some more points away, Celtic being ahead. We've also seen the story of dropping points at the start of the season and then competing with Celtic until January and then falling away. And then we've also seen dropping points at the start of the season, competing with Celtic up until about February, early March, and then falling away. So we've seen all these stories before. And when you lose that first game of the season, and do you know what? Not lose it, sorry, we drew. When you draw that first game of the season, it's not just that we drew, it's how we done it.
Yeah. I mean, picking up what Ian says, we've had managers, previous saying this and saying that. I think the easiest assessment now is we've seriously got to start looking at some of these players. We've seriously got to start looking at who in that squad is good enough. Because, as you said, there was 9 players finished the game from last season on Saturday. How many of those 8-9 players would we realistically want to keep? That's the problem. We're hanging on to guys that have, let us down so many times in the past, and they're still here. They're still here getting a wage. They're still here playing, and I'm kind of hoping Russell Martin will eventually figure out the bad eggs and get rid of them. That's what I'm hoping. Because I genuinely don't think if Pep was in Russell Martin's position, we'd be any better. I just don't think if Sir Alex Ferguson was in the job, we'd be any better. I just genuinely think some of these players
at the moment.
Yeah. I just think there's far too many players have got scar tissue. There's they've barely won. They've won the odd cup here and there. They've won, some players have won one league in their time. I just think I think the players have really got to take the full brunt of this. As I say, Russell Martin's selection and substitutions have to come under some scrutiny, but I think the basic brunt of it has got to come from the players.
Is it as simple, Ian? Right? Is it? I get you can respond to Wilton Man in a minute, Brian, right? Because I tend to agree with you, mate, right? Is it as simple, Ian, as just putting Aarons at right back and taking Tav out of the team? Is it as simple as that?
Nah. There was other question marks over. I mean, Curtis could have come on. Dowell was dead on his feet. Dessers could have maybe come on a bit earlier. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've got as much as I think something struck with me again, and Russell Martin mentioned it again in his interview after the Motherwell game. He said, "I've watched everything this team did last year. I've watched it back." Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he now knows. He's now seen firsthand that as much as Danilo and Dowell to a lesser extent, and maybe Cortez, these guys can impress upon a pre-season and feature really well. By all accounts, Kieran Dowell was the man of the match against Barnsley at St George's Park. Yeah, did really well. But when a competitive game starts, you find out who your real people are that stand up and be counted. Yeah, it's a different game at that point, And I think someone reeled back a stat to me that in the last 16 or 17 competitive games, and multiple man can maybe pick me up if this is right or wrong, Danilo hasn't scored. Yeah. So now if that was Dessers, my God, we'd be all over him for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a fact. That's a fact. Because we still keep believing that we're going to see this player that's going to emerge out of there. I'm not convinced he will. But I just think we can't judge Russell Martin. Of course, we can't judge Russell Martin at the moment. But if he's true to his word and he said he's watched a lot of what went on last year, then he'll know that some of these players that he's picked didn't perform well enough for us last year.
Yeah, and if he's watched what happened last year, he's went and just made exactly the same mistake in the first game of the season, which is worrying. Well,
it's like a lot of managers, they believe in their own systems, Martin, don't they? Think it won't happen under my watch. Yeah. So, but there we go. That isn't what he was saying after the Motherwell game. He was just saying
it wasn't. But
these guys want to come for the journey. They could come for the journey. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, but he also did give himself an out by saying it wasn't really a tactical thing. Well, I think substitutions come under tactical things, and he left it far too late to make substitutions. And then as somebody else put in the comments, he changed the entire midfield, which is a really, really strange thing.
Well, Martin, can I just ask you, Martin, did you not think with Raskin playing kind of left side of midfield,
he was off it?
That negated his game, didn't it? He wasn't really doing
He was totally off it at the weekend. Right, I didn't really want to bring this up, Brian, right? Because we're not them, right? We admit when we don't win, when we lose or we draw, if it's our fault, if it's our problem. But Paul's asking, penalty or not for the barge in the back in the box? It was a header. He headed. I can't remember what Rangers player it was now. But the Motherwell player came through him and headed him. For me, that's a clear penalty. If it happens in the middle of the park, it's a free kick. But Paul's asked, so I'm bringing it up. Listen, that wasn't the reason that we drew the game at the weekend, right? Let's not try and kid ourselves. But for me, yeah, Brian, that was a penalty.
Absolutely. But was anybody surprised that it wasn't given? Was there anybody flabbergasted that the V.A.R didn't pick it up? No. So there's nothing changed in that regard. I mean, I wasn't surprised they didn't pick it up. I I was half expecting them to, but at the same time, the experiences that we've had in the past, we've had balls in the back, over the line, and they haven't managed to pick that up. So that's what can you say? What can you actually say? You're not surprised. It's the same people refereeing these games and V.A.R in these games. So you can't. A leopard doesn't change its spots, I'm afraid. So it's nothing's. I keep saying this until there's I don't even know what you can do with officials now, because obviously there's so little of them in Scotland to officiate these games.
They're all
poor. So it doesn't matter what you do. That's the whole problem now. We're really up against it. They're all bad. They all take a shot of doing the V.A.R. They all take a shot of doing refereeing, and none of them are any good. So what can you do? I wasn't wholly surprised they missed it, or didn't decide to do anything. Was it because of us? I don't know, but it's starting to I guarantee if that was another team, would that have been given? Probably.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I just don't think they're very good. I honestly don't think they're very good. Question from Gaz, super chatting from Gaz. Thank you very much, Gaz, channel member. Ian, do you think, and Brian, feel free to jump in after Ian, do you think Martin will make changes tomorrow? If so, who will he bring in? We can't go on like this.
Do I think he'll make changes? I think he will make changes. I think if he can start Dessers, he will. I think if he can put Aarons at right back, he will, because that's been the blowback. That's been the biggest part of the blowback on Russell Martin, not what Russell Martin has said. Everyone's largely agreeing with what he said about the players that played at V.A.R Park at the weekend. But it's been obvious a couple of times now, and I didn't think during pre-season or when I'd seen Aarons at left back, I thought, well, he's an experienced pro, he's a decent player, and you've seen him, he's quite a clever player. I actually thought he would manage to survive at left back, but it's not been the case. Now, teams have been capitalising on that and knowing that he's playing out of position and therefore coming down that side. But I think we might see a wee change. Will he bring Yefty in? Maybe. And then he's got to look at his middle three. I mean, Diomande. I mean, we all know that we're not shocked by the likes of Diomande's performance yesterday, guys, because he's either a 4 or an 8 out of 10. Diomande, isn't he? And yesterday was a 4. He just disappeared again. I'm actually not sure where the hell he was meant to be playing. In all honesty, it was a bit random, right side of midfield, but. And Dio's is one of these players that you think, well, there's a player in there, but his concentration just drifts. So you could drop Dio, but then you could play him on Tuesday and he could be your best player. So that's the kind of predicament you've got with Diomande. But I think the two that I've mentioned there, I think also we might see Finlay Curtis get on Tuesday, and Lyle Cameron get on. I don't think they'll start, but I think they'll get on.
I think you're right.
You're on mute, Martin. You're on.
I think Dessers will start on Tuesday, 100%. I just can't see any other option than that. I think Curtis will start, and I think Cameron will start. I think, that's what I think. What Russell Martin will do is that, another thing, but that's what I would do. Cameron showed enough.
Brian, will it be Curtis or will it be Ant-Man?
I'd be surprised if he throws Ant-Man straight in. He might come on as a sub.
He's not been officially announced yet. I'd massively doubt it.
No, I'd be surprised if he's. I mean, Curtis. I would say Curtis will start. I would say Dessers will start and Cameron will start. As far as the back line, he seems. Does Jeffrey get on better in Europe because there's, I don't know, less pressure in Europe or less intensity? I don't know. He might come in at left. I mean, as I said before, we need a left back that's going to start every week. We can't have this carry on with Aarons playing left back and stuff. So I'd like to see Aarons start left back and Jeffrey right back. Again, I'm not sure if it'll happen. Apart from that, there's not much else you can do, is there? I mean, Rodwell probably start because he obviously signed him. Raskin, debatable whether he'll start after Saturday.
He'll start.
Yeah, I think he'll start, but it's very.
I think the debate we're asking is about where he'll start. Where he'll start on the pitch, because it was obvious that he wasn't as effective on that left side. Because Joe Rodwell, and interestingly enough, I saw this comment on the post-match reaction, guys. Someone actually put in the comments, and it made me think. They actually said Joe Rodwell's not fit enough for Scottish football, and I thought, ooh, I wonder, because he was dead on his feet. He was dead on his feet early at the sheer pace of the game at Fir Park. Now, Joe Rodwell's taken up the spot that Raskin occupied for a big chunk of last season. And I just think, as Martin agreed with there as well, I just think that Raskin was less effective where he was. So maybe he rests Rodwell and Raskin gets back in at the kind of 6 position. I don't know.
Is that kind of surprising with Rodwell in the sense that he's just came from the English Championship, and that is quite a demanding league?
It is. He is 30. His game does rely on a lot of running. But he signed a 3-year deal with us. He may just be feeling the effects of Greece, but he was blowing out his arse early at Fir Park.
What frustrates me the most? Do you remember back in the day when Rangers were a football club who, when we signed somebody, if it was on the Friday, he'd play on the Saturday? Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
Other teams do it. Other teams sign players, and if it's that day, and they can be registered, they're in the squad. How can we not? Why does it need to be every time we sign a player, they need 2 to 3 weeks to bed in before they can get a start?
He might have to go IKEA first, Martin. You might have to build his furniture.
This is my point, Ian. How can we not sign a player and he goes straight into the first team? Why is it with us it's always got to be sports science this, sports science that, blah, de blah. Other teams do it. Why can't we do it?
Listen, there's just the red tape of international players coming over and all that has been made a bit more cumbersome than it used to be. So there's lots of things. There's a lot of managers, the modern day managers, want to see the player fit into the system and the training ground at Auchenhowie before they release them on the pitch. It's not like that's what I'm saying. It's not like you're bringing in a traditional number 9 as we remember it, that goes, hands on the hips in the 18-yard line. The goals are there, off you go. It's not like that anymore. You need to understand who's feeding you, where you fit into the system, all that kind of stuff. And invariably, managers will make sure that there's 2 or 3 training sessions done in the training pitch before they bring them in, which makes me think we'll not get to see Ant-Man maybe in either of these 2 ties, actually, I would say.
Which is just mental for me.
Well, it isn't, but I understand why you think that.
He's already done a pre-season, right? He's done all that, so he's fit enough to play. Yeah. Come into the team, throw him in there and see how he does. He's a new signing. I'm absolutely fed up with this football manager like way football's went now, where you bring somebody in, they've got to be fully match fit, they've got to be fully fit, they've got to bed into the system, they've got to get tactical familiarity with the team before they can play a game. If you're signing a player for 3 million or whatever it is that we're going to be signing, and possibly going up to 4 million, right, which I think is going to be announced at 4 o'clock, by judging by some of the comments.
Yeah,
I'm in the fucking team.
Yeah,
pardon my French.
I'll let you take that, Brian. I'll let you take that, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. Everybody wants to see the new player playing as quickly as possible. Everybody wants that. It just seems to be modern football now, doesn't it? Or is it just us, as you say, Martin? Because as you say, there's a lot of other teams. There's a lot of teams that sign a player 2 days before, and then they're playing in the team 2 days later. So I don't know what it is. We used to sign guys, on a Wednesday and play them on a Saturday. We've had that in the past, so it's something new that's crept in. We've had guys sign 2 days before played, so it is a new thing with us, and it is frustrating because you want the players to get in and play in as quickly as possible. And let's be honest, footballers are.
What you're saying, Brian? We should have played Robin proper sooner. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes. No. Listen. I play in a fat league, right? I hadn't played 11-a-side football for 20 years, right? I had one training session and I started at the weekend. Right? Yeah. All right. I didn't last very long, right? Yeah, but I started. All right. My first touch was terrible. All right. I don't know how to take a throw in anymore. It's embarrassing. But I started, right? Can we not just get to a point as a football club where we sign a player and we start them? That's all I'm asking. It's this. Gassama, he's behind in his pre-season. Right, fair enough. Okie doke. So he comes off the bench and scores 2 goals. Start the boy. That's all I'm saying. It's just honestly so frustrating. Yeah, and yes, I've played 2 games now and I've been injured twice. So I don't know if my body's just saying, Martin, you're not good enough for this anymore. But look,
so we maybe started too quickly, Martin. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe I did. Maybe I did. But I'm 36, so that's allowed. That's allowed.
You should have maybe got some furniture to build and build yourself up slowly.
Ironically, I did. My missus bought some furniture for the living room that I had to build, so I nearly missed kickoff. Anyway, look, folks, that will do us for this extended afternoon rabble. Like I say, tonight, I know. Ian's raging. Look, he's not getting his afternoon. He's not getting his.
I've not got my excuse ready. I'm not got my excuse ready for that. I said half an hour.
But like I said, tonight at 7:30, it'll be myself and Posh Stewart on for about half an hour, 40 minutes to talk about what we've discussed today, and then we'll be joined by Robin Keane to find out exactly what's happening with her and her tour dates and stuff, and she's going to do a wee performance for us as well. So Ian and Brian, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you to everybody in the comments, everybody who has watched live. If you're still watching and you haven't clicked off the stream yet, please do give us a wee like and make sure that you are subscribed. We are motoring towards 15,000 subscribers.
You better give Connor's SPFL show a wee mention. No?
I'm going to, don't you worry. I seen his comment.
I know, did you see it?
Oh, I seen it. Make sure you're subscribed, folks. And if you want to help out the show further, we are an independent media outlet, and we are trying to expand and do more things, and we can only do that with your support. So click the links in the description now and become a member and get access to loads and loads of extra content. Join us tonight as also at 9 p.m. For the return of the SPFL show, which will be hosted by Connor, who's still sulking because he got beat in the wrestling by a member last night. So it'll be good to hear Connor's excuses for getting beat. He doesn't take it very well, does our Connor? No. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with that. But Ian, Brian, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Like I say, before you go, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help support us, and we'll speak very, very soon.